Like 2 more sentences about that, because I don't know that.
Oh, I'm turning on AI Companion. So what happened is that, there we go. If you use the AI Companion on the bottom, it will allow you to ask questions about anything during the meeting. And it creates a summary of the meeting at the end of it, which goes to whoever started the account.
So folks, I have a PowerPoint to accompany us today. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen with that. And let me make it run properly. There it is. So Sonja, I added a little, I didn't do a lot.
No.
Got a little gold in there.
Looks good. Looks good.
So hi folks, thanks for joining us today. I'm Anneke McEvoy, she, hers, Affirmative Action Officer, here with my colleague.
Which I think I've met pretty much everyone. Sonja Hathaway, the Talent Acquisition Manager in HR Department.
So one of the things I think we're going to be bringing back now that I've adjusted to my role and started to understand what questions folks have are the search process trainings. So this is kind of our getting our feet wet with you all, sharing kind of a revised training presentation that highlights some things that we think are important. Again, still in kind of a development phase. If you all want to kind of let us know of anything that's missing as we go through this or anything you still have questions about. So before we start, so we've introduced ourselves. We're going to talk about the goal of a search process, who does what, considerations for inclusive hiring, confidentiality and consistency, and just the steps of the search process. Before we begin, did I just jump yep, I just jumped Sonja's slide, so I'm going to stop talking.
Can you advance it for me?
Yes.
Thank you. So questions. So I know most of you have been on a search since the process changed, which was like around September 2022, I guess. But if you have questions, you can ask them as we go along or share them in the chat, whichever you feel most comfortable with. And we'll try to make sure we address all those. So what is the goal? What is the goal of the search process? Someone want to help me out with that? What is the goal? No? So the goal is to successfully find the most qualified candidate for your positions. So with this, the role of HR, or my role, is to help with the recruitment efforts. It's to manage launching the search and provides HR support throughout the process. The role of the Affirmative Action Officer provides guidance for the search diversity goals and requirements, diversity statement expectations, DEI questions, and reviews the pool and EEO data. And then the role of the Dean or VP, you review the pools and EEO data and extends the offer to the successful candidate.
No. There might be more in everybody's role as we go through, again, Sonja and I are resources. We're available for questions. I think VPs and deans as well understand this process and are available for questions as committees go through. So when in our last meeting with Provost Council, when Sonja and I said, we're going to do this, we're looking at this, we're trying to kind of redevise our training. Kristen Coyle was kind enough to share the training she's been doing with class. So I'm crediting slides that seemed really helpful to this conversation. And really, Kristen had done a great job of kind of building out the conversation around inclusive hiring, recognizing bias in the search process, and being really intentional in addressing that and building a process that is as inclusive as possible. So we really want to be mindful of bias in the search process. We all have bias. Kind of the idea of bringing somebody new into the community, I think, is a likely place for bias to kind of be in play, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, you know, but if it's excluding qualified candidates from our pools and from our campus and getting in the way of an opportunity to be a more diverse community, then that can be problematic. So, oops. Here are some biases, and there are more. Institutional bias, just we understand this place and how it works, and we're looking for folks who already fit the mold. Explicit bias, really having really clear ideas or stereotypes about somebody based on the groups or identities that they hold. Implicit bias tend to be below the surface. We might not recognize them. Just ways we're conditioned to think about folks. Some more specific things, I think gender bias is something to consider. Age bias. I had a friend at another institution who talked about being in a search process and recognizing at one point that she was, you know, as a woman, she was dealing with a male candidate and she was responding negatively to this candidate because in her mind, she saw a woman in the job. So, you know, just recognizing those moments, addressing them, being intentional around them, pushing through them, not letting them kind of unconsciously navigate the course for us. Anyone else have any thoughts on bias in hiring or experiences or questions or concerns? But I think it is definitely worth a conversation with a new search committee to kind of tease these ideas and understandings out. So we have shared language, so we have shared intention around the opportunity that's in front of us to be more inclusive. And I think of this always as an opportunity, and that'll come up in some other areas while we're talking here today, just the opportunity of inclusion, the opportunity of diversity. I think this is the last one I've stole, Kristen, but defining key skills and referring to the list through the process, right? And this is something also you want to think about even as you're devising your required qualifications and preferred qualifications. You know, what are the things that really are required? Don't pad that list, right? Because those required qualifications, the necessary ones are necessary, but others might be exclusionary. I feel like I just made up that word, but I think it's real. You know, and have those qualities in your preferred area that might help some candidates really shine, but really make that required area the stuff that you need. And recognize kind of padding that with stuff that might keep people from getting a foot in the door, even for a first interview. Take notes, you know, especially as you're asking questions, write down what people are saying to refer to later. So you're not making decisions based on a feeling you have, but really informed by the information that you gathered through the process. I always have to caution you know, I'm really big on my instincts and I have to be careful to inform myself with facts, right? So use rubrics for consistency of evaluation is another great strategy. It's not the only thing you're depending on. And in our search for the director of the Institute, Nicole Brown actually created Google Forms for us to enter our responses to our rubrics. You know, you know, do they meet the required qualifications? Do they meet the preferred? Any additional notes? That way, we were able to kind of anonymously, in a sense, share our read of the candidate, our evaluation of their qualifications directly with our search chair. Then she shared the data back out with us. So that it's that rubric, it's that really consistent way of making sure everybody's sharing information about the candidates. not, you know, prior to that search, I've been on searches where I kind of fill out my own spreadsheet. And I don't know that everybody's doing the same thing, you know, so this expectation that we're all going to give all the candidates feedback as we go through and make our decisions is great. Also, that rubric, that Google form spoke to having an inclusive committee process because, you know, on any committee, somebody might be a director, somebody might be a second-year employee, somebody might have expertise in an area where I'm intimidated to share my opinion or my read of a candidate. So anything you can do to kind of remove those participation barriers for the committee as well, I think is valuable. I am sure Nicole would share her Google form if we asked her. I went to find it before this though, and it's gone poof, as the magic of Google Forms. Beware of fit and they won't stay conversations. We can't speculate, right? You're really making your decision based on qualifications, what folks bring to the table in terms of getting the job done and helping us kind of build the campus experience and community that we want. Screen and interview stretch candidates. Thank you, Kristen. I love this. When I'm giving feedback based on EEO data, I had a search recently where I realized that somebody in the finalist pool didn't have all the qualified requirements and that there was somebody from a historically marginalized protected class that didn't make that first interview that did have all the required qualifications. So I just reached out to the VP and said, I would invite you to include this candidate in that first round. I know everyone's time is precious, but it's going to make that process more inclusive and extend an opportunity to this candidate who does meet those required qualifications. So better to maybe make that pool a little bit bigger to be more inclusive than kick somebody out to get somebody else in. Just, you know, keep it open, keep our minds open. Be mindful about your question list. And later there's a link to legal and illegal questions. But keep questions open-ended. Don't be too guided. Focus on examples and skills. Thank you, Kristen. And I spoke a little bit to the idea of an inclusive committee process. How are we giving everybody on the committee voice? And while an anonymous rubric, I think, is one tool, another might be for the search committee chair to really at the beginning state, you know, we want everybody to have a voice in this process. Build some of that comfort among the committee members at the outset. So I know I have experts in this space. Does anyone want to ask any questions or share any additional thoughts that have come up as I've gone through this?
I have a question, Anneke. This is Allison Ayotte from the Office of Learning Services, she, her. Can you elaborate on what you mean by stretch candidates?
So again, I think that speaks to this interplay of be really mindful of your required qualifications as you're crafting the ad. You don't want to make them too exclusive. But you might have somebody in the pool that meets those required qualifications, but doesn't have as much experience as the other candidates. You know, where they just kind of went to the side, but then we have a pool that looks all the same, especially in terms of being inclusive. That's an opportunity to look again and say, did somebody meet these requirements that maybe because of some other factor we didn't think to bring in for this first interview? Or can we extend somebody a little grace around a question they didn't answer well in the first interview and bring them to campus because in other ways they look like they might be a good fit or help us do what we need to do, right? So to me, and again, as I've said, I've lifted this directly from Kristen's presentation for class, but to me, I read that as be open to those candidates that you might not immediately think about bringing, that again, for one reason or another, don't quite look like they make it, but maybe you want to give them that opportunity to really show you what they have. Kristen, does that align with your thinking in that bullet point?
Yeah, and oftentimes when we're writing an ad and when we're searching, we do have an idea in mind of what we think a great candidate looks like. And much of that idea is kind of unarticulated and gives us a lot of room for bias to enter in. So in the process of making a rubric, the committee starts to articulate, we really need these things, but you still have that kind of unarticulated, perfect candidate looks like this. But instead, we look at the pool and think, we're ready to be surprised, positively surprised. There could be these amazing people in the pool that don't look like this mental image of the person and the experiences that you were expecting. They look different. They have the required qualifications, but you're ready to be surprised. So you interview these candidates that don't match your preconceived notions of what the successful person would look like. And sometimes you hit like the culture ad, the experience ad that you weren't expecting to see. The only other thing I'd add on here is that taking notes is really, really, really important. Partly because the biases, the implicit biases that we each bring into the search process, they affect your ability to recall. So you notice and remember things that fit with your preconceived ideas. You don't notice and you forget things that don't fit with your biases. So if you take notes, you're much more likely to have a more fair recall than if you didn't take notes.
Thanks, Kristen. So that confirmation bias, we remember the things that tell us what we thought we already knew. Anyone else, anything to add from your experience on committees or, you know, and that friend's story, again, it was an advisement position. And in her head, the advisor should be a woman. And again, this is her language saying, I recognize this bias and was sitting with this candidate who did not fit my preconceived notion. All right, what's next? Oh, I have one more, Kristen, one more. But I think these questions are valuable. Does this applicant remind me of myself or someone I know? And I will be the first to admit, if I see somebody who went to my tiny, now closed Wells College, I get excited. Somebody who worked someplace where I might know somebody in some way, I get excited. And I think those are normal responses, but recognizing those responses and where they come from and that they don't really mean anything in the value of the candidate. So really being aware as you're looking about what is making you think this might be a good candidate. When I was a public school teacher, I had a colleague whose whole master's thesis was on the impact of handwriting on standardized test achievement. So how handwriting influenced grading, if you looked at the content separate from the handwriting. I don't know if they do it all on computers now. I don't know how they're even doing these things. But so thinking about what is there in the CV that might be impacting the way I'm looking at it. I also remember once reviewing a principal candidate who had literally, like, she took it right out of Legally Blonde, had pink paper and she perfumed it. But her attention to detail was amazing. So this thing that at the outset, I was like, I'm not so sure about this. It spoke to this quality that the candidate had that was really strong. We ended up hiring the candidate. What elements am I considering that aren't relevant? Again, those little things that I might get excited about that don't actually speak to the job qualifications. Am I evaluating skills and experiences listed, or am I making assumptions about the candidate? And again, using that, you went to my college, you must be fantastic example. Like that might not be what's on the resume. That might not be the story that I'm getting from the way they shape their experiences and qualifications. And how have I already excluded or endorsed this candidate? And again, that might be something you do internally as you're talking yourself through their materials. It might be something you do externally as a part of the conversation with your search committee. But again, thinking about what your evaluative statements and stances are and considering them always against the job description, the requirements of the job, what's on the paper, kind of triangulating and making sure your responses are steeped in the reality of the moment and not in your bias. So back to Sonja, unless anyone has any more questions about bias.
Okay, So prior to the search, the RTF will be completed and sent through for routing. Along with your RTF, you're going to send a copy of your org chart and the long ad. So there is a template available and preferred for use for the long ad. It's just easier to transfer the information into Interview Exchange if you use that. So you'll prepare the position description, determine your minimum versus preferred requirements and qualifications. And you really want to think about those and think about the length and the number of requirements that you're listing in your ad. The minimum, the candidate is always going to have to meet those. So when I go to look at their resume or their CV, I'm going to have to make sure that they meet those minimum qualifications in order to move forward. You can craft your description of your department. You can be creative with that. You can include links if you want to have a link to your department page. You can list activities or accomplishments of the department, however you want to highlight the department to attract candidates. You'll also develop a recruitment plan, and then you will utilize the AO and myself as resources. And I'm available for the whole process. I know I come into it once I receive the RTF and your information, then I reach out and say, we're going to begin the search. But if you have questions on the qualifications, if you have questions on your position description, you can reach out to me at any time. So it doesn't have to be after the fact. And I will say that the long ad, you will have a chance to review that prior to posting. So I know sometimes there's a lag of time that it takes from when you submit it to when I get it. And I will always reach out and make sure that it still includes the information you want in your ad before it goes on the website. Are there any questions with any of that? Confidentiality. Throughout the entire search process, it's essential. All those involved, dean, vice president, department chair, hiring manager, search chair, and committee members should be cognizant of their role in maintaining confidentiality and the integrity of the search. Applicant privacy is the responsibility of all engaged in the search. And if there's any concerns regarding confidentiality, it should be brought to HR immediately. I know there's been questions about recording interviews. Interviews should not be recorded. The information should, you should be mindful of what you're putting in Interview Exchange in regards to the search, and also in the emails, because if there was a time when this needed to be pulled, if there was a FOIL request, all that will be available. So you just want to remember to maintain that level of confidentiality.
Sonia, can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Can you explain why interviews shouldn't be recorded? I think that's a good point, but can you just elaborate a little bit?
So I think it's something where, number one, it may set the candidate off. They may wonder why it's being recorded. What is this information going to be used for? I know that there are times when certain search committees can't be available at every interview, and that's fine. That's why you're going to take those detailed notes. But I think it's more of a privacy. And I know that some candidates may offer to say, yeah, okay, that's fine if you record it, but they may not be truthful in feeling okay with that being recorded because they want a job. So they may not feel comfortable saying, no, I would prefer not to be recorded. So use your notes, take thorough notes to share with someone if they're not there, which we should be taking those notes anyways. And, not recording the interviews. Consistency. So all candidates should be treated the same. Internal, external should all be treated the same. Same questions, same itinerary, or as close to it as possible. I know, again, there are times when things happen. It cannot mirror the same for everyone, but you just want to keep it as similar as possible. Social media, just don't do it. Don't look people up on LinkedIn and all that. Just no social media. Asking people who might know the candidate outside of the search. Don't do that as well. And again, all communication with candidates should be through Interview Exchange, including the regrets. I know I get a lot of questions about the regrets, and they're sent through like a department email. which is fine. Just record it for me so I know. But if you do them through Interview Exchange, it's a lot easier for me to track and to go in to look and see when they were done, and have a record of that. No notes on the candidates in Interview Exchange regarding like their qualifications, anything that took place during the interview. And then all decisions about the candidates need to be communicated in writing. So when we're doing the request for the search reviews, they need to be sent in writing, again, including the position title and the Interview Exchange number on those emails. And it's also helpful when you send requests for review for shortlist and on campus, if you include the names of the candidates, if you can. That's very helpful for us when we have multiple like shortlist reviews.
I feel like I had a question in here. Oh, example. I have an example. I just love using myself as a flogging horse here. But when we, again, one of our finalists for the director search came on the same day as Dr. Frederick's memorial in Campus Center. And she had asked a lot of questions about community, and I think was coming from a even way more predominantly white institution. And I really thought, oh, I'd love her to, if we could just sort of walk by the perimeter and let her get a glimpse of this. And I took it, I shared it with the committee, like, can I? And they're like, nope. Even if I did it in a way that wouldn't, I didn't want to compromise the integrity of that event, because I really felt like it was he was such a special man. It was such a special event. But no, because it would have shown her a real dimension of the campus in a way that we had not been able to share with other candidates. So consistency.
The search committee. The search committee is responsible for keeping things organized and maintaining confidentiality, evaluating the candidates, and there's templates and interview questions suggested in the search resource guide. There's the diversity statement sample rubrics, which Anneke mentioned.
Oh, I'm going to share that when you're done.
Okay. And then the DEI questions, it's an opportunity, not a problem. There's also legal and illegal question samples, interview question samples in the search resource guide. And then reference check information and questions are also available in the search resource guide. Those are on our webpage. That also gets sent at the beginning of the search. I send out a search kickoff email, and that link is provided in the email as well to those resources. Yes, the paper copy.
So wait, can the opportunity not a problem? Can one of you elaborate on that?
Sonia, is it okay if I talk to that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, sometimes I'll get questions that pose diversity as a problem. What do you do when there's a problem, when diverse people are working together? Or how do you change your style to talk to people? Which all sounds so reactive. And I think we're doing, in both the statement and in the questions, we're not just gathering information, we're signaling something about ourselves. So that this is an expectation and an important part of our community. If we don't signal it at particular points, it doesn't get signaled. Like it doesn't, So recognize that value, but also invite people to talk about the opportunity of building inclusive communities, of the joy of knowing people with different experiences than your own, of the learning that comes with that, the richness of decision-making with a lot of different viewpoints. There are so many different pathways into what we mean by a diverse community, and we just want to make it as open and positive as possible for folks to step into that conversation, because I think there can be a lot of anxiety around those questions and that, that expectation, when again, it really is an opportunity. So when folks send me kind of deficit framed questions, I just respond and say, can we shift this? Sometimes I'll give language if it seems like they need some language, or if I think they're just going to get it with the prompt, I just say, if you could shift this to opportunity thinking, or, what does it look like to build inclusive communities, just using that kind of more positive framework. There really has not been a statement rubric So I've come up with one that I think has a lot of room to breathe, and I'm going to open it up and walk folks through it. Again, we don't want to be too prescriptive. We have not excluded anybody because of their diversity statements. I got to tell you, I read some and I think, but I generally will signal to deans or VPs, you know, these two were weak, and here might want to think about another diversity question, or really think about this part of the interview process. I think we're probably all on the same page in our desire, but again, we recognize that it's not like we're giving folks a rubric in advance for this question. People might really be unpracticed with answering these questions. I always find it interesting when folks from protected classes, you know, are less verbose in talking about their experiences of diversity. You know, so it's a tall order to write a diversity statement, and it brings out, I know it's a controversial tool. But here are the things, and this is really kind of based in what I'm looking for when I look at diversity statements. I think they're kind of universal things. Personal experience with diversity, and that might be, I grew up in Lowville, and there wasn't a lot of diversity around me. Or it might be I grew up in the Bronx and I was surrounded by people of color, although my media suggested otherwise. You know, it could be really informed. It could be really like, I don't have experience with diversity, but one thing to look for might be if somebody's able to talk about their personal experience. Self-awareness. Are folks in that statement able to express an understanding of their own social identity, privilege, lack of intersectionality, lots of different opportunities in this space to express self-awareness. Recognizing challenges, you know, that, you know, with younger right out of school candidates, they might be talking about challenges they recognized in their educational experience, either things that they encountered or observed or learned about in a class. Again, many pathways to recognizing challenges, news coverage. So you might, you know, someone might have done something to address inequity in the workplace, you know, so it might come through their professional experience. It might come through a fail, or seeing a fail, or seeing an opportunity. Again, a lot of different pathways to talking about what this has looked like in professional experience. I have to say, for folks applying for faculty positions, you know, with a PhD in their discipline, I personally have a high expectation for folks to have an ability to talk about this conversation. To me, it's like if you have a pulse, you're aware of this conversation and can dip a toe in there. And I've seen some amazing, you know, academic, researched, footnoted, but I've also seen, I just want everyone to get along, something that makes me anxious. And I'm talking about this in a very personal way. And I think we do, again, I think that's another reason why it's good to have a rubric. I think we have personal responses to how people engage in these statements. Another thing is, again, identifying opportunities. So you might be aware of challenges. What have been some opportunities you seized or created, or that you might see coming into this space? And again, something here, you'd hope something here would be addressed. We might need a lot of development, but again, any awareness. So this is not a pass-fail rubric. I think committees could personalize this to speak specifically to the positions they're searching or to the discipline they're seeking to bring somebody into. But I thought having something a little more developed was probably better than having nothing. I think it came up in Provost Council. There are some mixed feelings about the fact that we utilize diversity statements. Personally, I would say, again, I think we're signaling something important by asking for it, and we are not actually excluding people from being hired because of their diversity statements, unless they wrote something deeply troubling, right? If I recall correctly, when I was sitting in on the process with Rodman, he would recommend excluding folks based on their diversity statements, but that's not been the process with Kendra. It's not been something I've been doing. Again, the most I'll do is just kind of flag a weak one. And if folks have anything to share, observations, concerns, suggestions for this tool, I'm super glad to have them. But we'll add this to the resources on HR. Again, I swear the ODI website's almost so close to up. I might even have it up by the end of the week. I'm so close. And these resources will be there too. And then I don't know how to get back to where we were, but I'm going to give it a shot. Oh, thank you again for letting me co-opt. Oh, and then am I next? Am I process?
I
That's
think
crazy,
so.
but I'll do it.
Is that me?
Hmm?
You can do it.
Is
Is
it
that
you?
me?
Is it me? I don't know what number we're on. Hang on, let me see. This is page, oh yeah, this is squarely Anneke. Hang on, let me make it big. Don't look at all those things on my screen. And if you saw my open email, all my unanswered emails, don't judge. Process. So we spoke earlier about the pre-process. We talked a little bit about developing utilizing rubrics or forms for evaluating candidates. You're going to want to review the candidate materials as a committee. Again, different committees probably have different approaches. My most recent committee, again, we did kind of an asynchronous review, and then we met to discuss and see the data, the compiled data in terms of our responses and talk through that. So the committee is going to want to work together to develop first round interview and DEI questions. Again, there are resources in the search resources guide to help inform that process. And again, what I would say again and again about DEI questions is opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. So you're going to develop your first round interview questions. Later on, you're going to develop finalist interview questions. Not all my committees have developed questions for the finalist, but develop a finalist. You may feel that you need to, and or develop your finalist DEI questions. You're going to share your shortlist candidates and your questions with your dean or VP for review. The dean or VP will review those materials and the EEO data and share the candidates and questions with Sonja and me. I will look at the questions, the DEI statements, the EEO data. Sonja, what do you look at that point? I'm not even sure.
I review the candidate materials, so the resume, application. I check the application. One of the main things on the application that I'm mostly concerned about is visa sponsorship question.
Did I just hear the word question?
No, that's me.
Oh, okay. We asked, Sonja touched on this earlier, that when emailing this information, I would say it anywhere in the chain that you're including position title and number in the subject line of the email. And again, Sonja spoke to that it's preferred to have names actually listed in the email. Sometimes there's short list, and there are two folders in there. Sometimes things get put in weird places, so it just helps keep things clean. So, and then again, for the finalist interviews, deans and VPs are going to look, they're going to pass along to us the finalist candidates and any DEI question for the finalist interview. I have to say, I was just in a process where I was looking, and I do look really closely at EEO data for that first round. And I've not been thinking very hard about it for the finalist round because I've been feeling like I already looked at it. And somebody just said, aren't you supposed to look at it again? And I looked at the guidebook and I was like, it's actually unclear, but note taken, I will. And I'll say as a low key commercial, there may be some revisions to this process. I think I cracked the code. Kristen, I actually want to talk to you after this and talk to Sonja about it and share my suggestions and see what you think. Just trying to streamline. Because if it takes more than 2 sentences to explain, I feel like it might be too complicated. So any questions here in this process?
And I'll just stress again the folders. That's always my thing, is just make sure everybody's placed in the correct folder. So I know there's some confusion over when do we move them to the folder. So if your search chair is the one moving them, when they go send the request for the shortlist review, they should be in the shortlist folder at that time. So whatever they're requesting a review for, we should be able to go right in that folder and identify who we need to look at. And this is where it comes with having those names, because sometimes we haven't moved on to like an on-campus interview. There's still candidates in the shortlist that we've already reviewed, and now you're adding people. If we have the names, it's easier for us to just tell who we've already looked at.
And so Kristen, and again, I know we earlier, prior to and in the provost council meeting, we're talking about EEO data review. And it's also looking at the little, this is on the website, the slideshow. And I don't know, I wasn't in the cabinet meeting where they changed the process, but it looks like perhaps at one point it was that the deans and cabinet members were solely having the burden of looking at EEO data, because in the roles and responsibilities from this draft, it is not saying that the AAO is or the CDIO. But now it seems to have evolved to the understanding that the AAO is looking, but I think it's still, there's still this expectation for deans and cabinet members. But Chris, I'm literally going to sprint up the stairs with my idea after this meeting. And stay tuned, folks, maybe for some developments in the fall. Any questions on this?
Okay, I thought it was just a convenience for Sonja that we were putting the interview exchange number in the subject line. It's so convenient. So thank you.
It is.
It
You
is
can
a
just
convenience for
put it
everyone.
right in your email, and then it'll just come right up, and you're right there.
Yes,
Through all your
yes.
emails, you can go right and find it. So
And if
thank
you're only
you.
working on one search, it doesn't matter that much, except if you work on a different one next year, because then you can still find super easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you for that convenience for all of us.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Mhm.
So for finalist interviews, so I kind of inserted this, and then there's another slide on process. Again, stealing right from class. Thank you for having all these great ready-made materials, Kristen. But you'll work with the search administrative assistant to develop an itinerary. There is a search guide for administrative assistants, compliments of class and Kristen Croyle. You want to give your candidate a complete itinerary before they land. If you're going to be sharing their resume or CV, redact personal information, just kind of things to remember along the way. You want to arrange for a search committee member at each transition point. So greeting them in the morning, picking them up from the airport if that's if that's something they need. From each point to and from on campus. I think everybody in this training actually has at least this much experience. You will want to review legal and illegal questions to keep in mind during formal and informal interactions. Like for me, this is really valuable because I'm chatty and I forget myself, like just a little reminder of things not to ask. Even if they seem super comfortable and like a thing you would want to ask. And you're going to want to check in with your dean or VP about key meetings during the visit. So I think for every finalist, CDIO should be on the agenda. For academic affairs, ORSP, the associate provost, the dean, etc. But check in with your folks as you're making those itineraries.
I'm just going to add that we oftentimes have candidates for different roles do different things, like give a talk or teach a class or meet with a special group. We do that over and over, so we forget that the way we do it is different than other places. So we need to give really explicit instructions for each of those portions of the interview. It's not because we're weird. Every place does it different. We just forget that we do it different than other places. So really explicit instructions. This is what you're going to be doing to this audience for this long. And this is the purpose. So that's the feedback that we got when we surveyed some of our recent hires. What were some things that you would have liked to see changed? And there was some confusion from our side about not being real clear on what we're asking candidates to do when they come.
Oh, interesting. And again, back to that recent search, we had a candidate where there was some kind of question for them to present about that was really like, how is DEI important to all? It felt like they were just answering for the ages. Like it was just such a big question. So even thinking about being targeted in crafting those questions to guide their presentations. So the search chair is going to conduct, so you have your finalist interviews. Now, Kristen, I didn't put in the PowerPoint, but I did note your hot tip that you might want to do your reference checks before finalists come to campus, because then that way it's quick and easy once you make your choice. And scheduling reference checks can take a little time. They can jam up the works. We're all in a hurry. People want to know after they visit campus, like, don't keep them hanging and blowing in the wind while you figure out where those references are in Tahiti. Do it before they come. Again, in the good old search resources guide, there are reference check questions. Then the chair is gonna complete the final search report with committee recommendation, send to the department chair or hiring manager, who sends to the dean or VP. Oop, where'd everybody go? Okay. After the candidate accepts, the search committee chair should send out regrets to other candidates. And another thing that's not in here that's come up in conversation recently, it might have been in that provost council meeting, is if the search is dragging on, check in with the candidates, just through interview exchange, just a little, the search is continuing. You know, we know it's been a while since you've heard from us, but you're still in the pool. We're continuing our search.
I'm going to reach out and try to see if we can come up with a few templates that can be put in interview exchange where the other templates are. So I'm working on it. So we'll get there. And then for different communications throughout the search process.
Great. So, and then after the candidate accepts, send out regrets to other candidates, search is closed, final search report goes to Sonja. And as a little note along the way, nudge if there are delays. It's been a little bit of a learning curve, the timing of being responsive. Sometimes though, things do just plain old slip through the cracks on me. So nudge, nudge, nudge. I mean, I should just put my cell phone and say, text me in this, but it seems unprofessional. But if it's been like 2 days and you're like, come on, I'm pretty sure this is sitting in Anneka's lap, please nudge. And I don't want to put the onus of that responsibility on you, but personally, I can say I'm trying to turn things around really quickly or quickly enough. And if that's not the case, let me know.
Same.
But Sonja's like a machine. Just cranking them out.
I try. I do try to get them back as quickly as possible.
It is appreciated. And then I think so now we're back at questions. So I'm going to stop the share. So if anyone has any questions or suggestions, let it rip.
Okay, this one's super tiny, but I think it's worth saying out loud. We can say like everything is confidential, don't share. But then there's always somebody who's like, oh wait, they come from blah, 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 and they were in so-and-so's lab and I know them. I'll just give them a call. I'm like, no, don't do that.
No.
Don't do that.
No.
Just don't do that. Yeah. Especially if you're on the search committee. Is it okay if you're not on the search committee and it's a finalist candidate and you went and saw them talk and then you're not on the search committee and you're not part of the confidential process? But if you're on the search committee, you don't reach out.
No.
So I'm trying to remember what search I was on. I don't know why I was even I can't quite place this conversation, but I feel like I was in it. I know it wasn't the director search, but where somebody came in and said that somebody had reached out to them because a candidate had been affiliated with a campus previously and kind of spoke to concerns that might, but there was a lot of full disclosure. The person hadn't gone looking for it. It had kind of come to them. And
that kind of thing is not uncommon in leadership searches.
Yeah.
Like if there's a presidential search, the FA chair may reach out to another FA chair, but none of them are in the confidential process. They're more like, tell me if there's any horrible things, but it's not part of the confidential process. That's part of the campus community. But if you're on a search committee, you don't do that. But it's really interesting to see how often people forget that when they say, oh, I know that person. I know this thing. I know that I'll just reach out real quick. And ask why they're searching, or, yeah, no, just don't do that.
I was sitting in on a search where I knew one of the candidates had an iffy history at another institution. And I could also see it in their resume, and I was shocked they were a finalist. Like, there was a place in the resume that was like a weird, literally didn't make sense rant about like the college sold this property to make up funding. Like, it was really weird and out of place. And then they stepped out. So I also think some of these, use the process.
Are there any other questions?
No questions, but it was a good review. It's been a while since I've been in a search committee, so this was a good review.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Mhm.
And I would add to that, Lizette, folks, if you're launching searches and you want, again, we've not done this before with a full-time AAO. Let's use the fact that the position exists. If your area is starting a search and you want someone to come in and walk through this, and especially, and again, all these resources are on the website, but I think I personally always love being walked through something, especially if it's a new process for me, being able to have time to ask questions and get information and even get comfortable. And again, also for that, for the question of inclusion, right? Or for the need for inclusion, I think it's just intentionally create that space to have that opportunity, to have that conversation.
Well, we are gonna be going through a search, right, George?
Yes, we are. And I would rather that we are not be going through a search, but we are going to be going through a search, and I will be sharing it. I'm hoping once we get the go ahead and the finance people, give us a line to have it go as expediently as possible.
Yeah.
And so yes, there might be email saying, "Hey, can the AL come in and do this with me and the committee?" And so we pretty much, I think, have a good committee or a good set of people in line to be the committee. And so, we'll wait and see until we get the go ahead.
Sounds good. I'll look for that email. Any other questions or? Look at our amazing timing, Sonja. Like, it's 1:55. For questions. Laura's ducking out.
Yes.
Laura, thank you for coming. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
And
you.
I'm running up the stairs right now. I'm running up there.